following podcast contains spoilers, adult language, and a video of a woman giving birth to... Wait, what the hell is that?
This is a message from the Office of Emergency Preparedness. Due to the recent crisis, we ask that you remain in your homes. Do not attempt to communicate or interact with the creatures, even if they are people you know.
Lock your doors. Bar your windows. Evil is coming. It's time for Aim for the Head, a horror apocalypse entertainment podcast. And now, here are your hosts, Diana and Steve.
Hi, and welcome back to Aim for the Head podcast. I'm Diana.
And I'm Steve.
And this week we're going to be discussing Season 1 of Fallout Episode 6. Title of the episode is The Trap. It's a trap! Do your best Admiral Akbar impression here, I guess, is what all nerds are doing when they hear The Trap. And if you didn't do one, then really what kind of nerd are you? Anyway.
Well, there could have been a small segment of them could have been doing looking for salt, because then it would be the man trap from the original Star Trek. But, you know, that's a very, very sub-genre.
That's very niche.
Yes, very niche. Very niche.
Okay, folks, before we get into our details of the episode itself, we're just going to do a quick rapid fire on what we felt about the episode itself. And Steve, you went first last week for episode 5, so it's my turn to go first. So, episode 6, The Trap. I like this episode. It's another one of those, and I feel like we said this either last week or the week before, where like, there's not a lot of plot movement forward, but there's still a decent amount of information. And mostly because of the flashbacks, I would say. And there was definitely still a little bit of action and a couple of... this show does a really good job of giving you WTF moments, and there were a handful of them in here. Thanks to Vault 4, the weirdest vault in the world. So I would say I was
really.
Again,
Are you sure about that? Are you thinking about what may or may not be in Vault 31? We're really gonna give that award to Vault 4?
Well, so far, because I haven't seen 31 yet. So far, the scientist with the nose on his forehead, yes, they win.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. I'm just saying, because you and I, we've seen the whole show, so we know what's coming.
Right. But so far, we're gonna go with that.
Okay.
But still, good episode. Lots of funny moments. Lots of just really great moments and great flashbacks. And excited to talk about next week's episode for sure. And again, like you were saying last week, it's really hard when it's done to not go, next episode, please.
Let's just go roll right through another one.
I know, because we're really trying to just focus one at a time. And I don't want my thoughts on episode 7 to, bleed into my thoughts for 6. So, 6 only, good episode. Not the best episode of the season, but still, even, not the best episodes for this show are still fantastic episodes. So, so that's how I feel. How about you? What did you think of The Trap?
Total crap. Hated every second of it.
The Trap is crap.
It's
heard
a
it here
crap
first,
trap.
folks.
No, I again, this episode's a lot of fun. Like you said, there's a lot of holy forking shirt balls moments, and at the same time, there's just some laugh out funny moments in there too. And you're right. I was thinking about the little discussion we had about how there are a couple episodes in here where the plot, the A plot of finding Lucy's dad and using the head and whatever's in the head to negotiate or to try and facilitate the return of his head. If we're going to say that's the main plot line of this season, there's actually some evidence here as I'm watching it through the second time to kind of suggest that it's entirely possible that that's kind of a MacGuffin, and that's really not the main point of this season, because we're grinding along. I mean, this is 2 episodes in a row where that plot has not really moved all that much at all, right? And what instead we're getting is just this phenomenal character building of the three main people of this show. And really we're getting Lucy kind of seeing what life outside the vault is like and how that's changing her, how her worldview is changing. And I guess I should say four main characters, because then we're also getting her brother Norm, and his life is changing as he's figuring out and starting to put the pieces together about what's going on in the vaults.
Mm-hmm.
And then we get Maximus and how his life is in character is evolving from where we saw him as kind of this, recruit and, squire wannabe, to this guy that's now kind of just like out on the wasteland and doesn't really have an affiliation anymore. Because do you really think he's in the Brotherhood anymore? Does it strike you as he just can't wait to get back there?
It's hard to say, because it's I mean, I don't want to jump into your thoughts, but I just feel like that's really the only thing we've been presented with so far. He's been like, okay, I got to get the head and go back. Here's the thing: the head is crucial to him even returning to the Brotherhood. If he can't get the head, then no, you'll never see the Brotherhood again. But he's going on this journey because I think in his head he's thinking, yes, if I go back with the head, all will be forgiven. In my heart I'm like, I don't know about that, but that's what he's thinking. So I think for now he thinks he can get back into the Brotherhood. I don't know how realistic it is, though. Just my opinion.
Yeah, that's fine. And just for me, my view is that he really kind of is a man without a country at this point. And that, maybe he'll go back to the Brotherhood. Maybe he'll just go off with Lucy. Maybe he'll just, stay in Vault 4 and eat almonds and watch the TV show The Waterfall. I mean, we don't really know what he's going to do.
Right.
But we've just seen his character change. And then the last character, which is the ghoul / Coop, it's a little different in that he's already who he is as the ghoul, and what we're seeing is how did he get to be that way,
right?
And so that's with all the flashbacks and so on. So but that is essentially what this season is, because there's only 2 episodes left, right?
Yeah.
So we're not going to get the plot's going to move forward a little bit, and like all these shows, there's going to be a big throw up of plot at some point here as they finally lurch forward again. But that. My take on this season, as we've watched it the second time, is that this whole first season was about world building and character building, and really firmly setting up where are we and who are the people we're going to interact with. And they're doing a great job because, like I said, these episodes are a lot of fun. The cast is perfect and they're wonderful. And the production design is just, through the roof. And any, like you and I have been kind of marveling at, a lot of the Apocalypse stuff in here is just gorgeous to watch.
Oh yeah, it's fantastic.
So yeah, again, I thought this episode was lovely. It was we get a lot more into Vault Tech and what a really rip-roaring great company it is. and we learn more about how Coop and his wife kind of are going to Splitsville, and at the same time we're also Lucy, I think, grows a lot because Lucy, she is true blue. The vaults are wonderful and perfect, and there could never be anything nefarious or questionable going on.
Right.
And now she's starting to get the idea that, as terrible as it is on the surface, it's kind of like that in the vaults too. So
yeah.
So anyway, I really love this episode. I have a lot of great lines and a lot of great moments, and it's going to be fun. It's going to be really fun to discuss it because it was a really good watch.
All right, well then let's get into it. So before we get into our individual points, though, let's just remind ourselves what the plot of the episode was with the episode description, and then we'll get into the writer and director of the episode. So Steve, why don't you go ahead and do that, and then we'll get started.
All right. Sounds great. All right, so again, this is the Amazon Prime series Fallout, and this is episode 1.6, The Past. And it's interesting because I believe every episode has been a the something so far.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken. So,
and actually, that is a misprint. It's the trap. That's the information from last week.
Oh, right.
Yeah. I had the wrong thing written in there. 40 lashes with a wet noodle for me.
Oh no!
I know.
All right,
I'm
well,
fired.
I'm fired. Yeah, you just want me to edit it now. I know you.
No, I don't.
All right, so again, it's the trap. But again, I believe every episode is like the end, the target, the ghoul, the pass. I mean, it's all one, these sort of the somethings. But our description that we have, and this, I'm pretty sure this is the correct description, and it is Lee and Maximus learn about Vault 4's refugee policy and uncover unsettling secrets. Meanwhile, the ghoul has flashbacks to his former life, where he learned of his wife's role in a Vault-Tec conspiracy.
Dun dun dun.
I think we definitely have the but that is your episode description. And again, here's a salute to you, episode description writers, for giving us 2 sentences that kind of covers it all. So our writing and directing team, just like we've had the last couple, it is a brand new duo, so that's cool. And our writer is a gal named Karen Dornetto. And she is got a lot of writing credits in like the last 15, 20 years. She has 25 of them total. And just some of the things that caught my eye. There's a show on HBO Max. It's an animated series called Common Side Effects. I don't know if you have watched it at all, Diana.
I don't know that one. No.
It's an adult cartoon, and it's very kind of similar, maybe a little bit, because it's about this guy who is out in the rainforests, and he has found this mushroom that basically will cure anything at all. I mean, it'll cure cancer, it'll cure a bullet wound, it's amazing. If you have Alzheimer's, whatever, it will. And he's brought it back, and the big pharma companies are trying to kill him to get it, because that's the last thing they want to come out, because they have, these billion-dollar industries coming up with stuff that basically just treat, and I'm using air quotes, stuff. They don't actually cure diabetes. We just give you insulin so you can manage your diabetes. We don't cure any of these horrible diseases, but we will come up with something that will prolong your life and make you have to buy our drug every month for the rest of your life. That kind of model. And so they're out to get them. And it's definitely got the evil corporation angle, and it definitely has the dark conspiracy angle going on, but it also has a lot of irreverent, funny moments. And again, it's an animated thing. It's on, like I said, it's on Max. I think it's 1 season, and it's like, I can't remember, 8-10 episodes, and they're all about a half hour long. And I got turned on to it by Nick DiGilio. He and his TV guy talked about it about a month ago, and I thought, I got to check that out, and it was pretty cool. So anyway, she's written some of those episodes. She's written episodes of the show Portlandia. She's written episodes of Superstore, which was an NBC sitcom, and she wrote several episodes of the show from Comedy Central that was called Aquafina is Nora from Queens, which I don't know if you ever watched that show. I did. That show was very funny, particularly if you like Aquafina. So, but 25 total credits, so a lot of experience. And again, I thought the script was fun in this. I thought there was a lot of the way it was presented was great. I thought there was some wonderful dialogue, as we're getting Coop and his, growing dissatisfaction with Vault-Tec, and as he meets with his friends who are all, and I'm just going to again use air quotes, communists, right? Because they don't like Vault-Tec, they want peace, they don't want an atomic war, and so on. So again, I thought she did a really good job. So that's our writer. That's Karen Dornetto. And then our director is this veteran dude. He's got 52 directing credits.
Wow.
That go back a long, long way. Toei, and it's a gentleman named Frederick, and then it's E-O, so E-O, E period O, that's initialed, and then his last name is, I want to say Toy, but it might be Toye because it's Toye. So Frederick, I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing it, but that's who did this. And oh my God, this dude has directed, like I said, 52 things and just a ton of stuff. So he's directed episodes of The Boys. He's directed episodes of the series Shogun. He's directed episodes of the show Evil. He's directed Snowpiercer. He did several episodes of season 2 of The Terror, which was the Japanese internment camp season. Yeah. He also happened to direct 2 episodes of a little show that we might be familiar with called The Walking Dead.
Oh,
yes. Oh, yes. He directed, it was 2 episodes in season 11, and it was 11-3 Hunted and 11-4 Rendition. And if you're struggling to remember, I looked them up. They are both episodes that deal with the Reapers. And so 11-3 is where the Maggie's group starts out to go and get the food or whatever they were trying to get. And the subplot was Carol and a bunch of the women were trying to like go round up all the horses that had gotten free or something. Remember that?
Yeah, vaguely, yes.
Where they go out and look for the horses. Yeah. So that's that one. And then 11-4, Renjin, which is the very next one. At the end of 11-3, Daryl gets captured by the Reapers, and that's where he runs into his old girlfriend. And
yes.
Yeah, and I believe it's Daryl and Dog get captured. And so they... I think it's the one where he kind of is like, oh, I want to join up. And so they, the leader of the Reapers is considering whether to put him through the test and all that stuff. But anyway, those are the 2 episodes. So he actually directed episodes of The Walking Dead as well, which I thought was kind of cool.
Nice.
So yeah,
very
and
cool.
Again, it's a ton of stuff. Very experienced, and I thought he did a wonderful job. Handled his duties here. Exceptionally well. So that is our writer and our director.
Excellent. All right. Well, jumping right off the episode was this really fantastic. It was a little bit of a longer cold open than we've had, with 2 really large scenes. One was the scene of the recording of the ad, the commercial that Coop does for and then the sort of rap party after it. But the ad itself, fantastic. I love the line when he's looking at camera and he's like, keeps out the rads and the reds. Ding. Wink, wink, like winks at the camera. Yeah. So great.
You have to include he like kind of uses his knuckle and like raps on the steel wall, and he's like, it has a 4-foot sheeting strong enough to keep out all the rads and the reds. Ding.
Reds. Yeah. It's so great. Yeah. And then and you've got your own notes in there too from the commercial, and then we've got the after.
Oh yeah. So he and the commercial kind of finishes, and they put up this credit that says call now with an exclamation point, and then it lists a phone number, and it's not a 555 number. And by chance, did you call the number?
I didn't, but I've heard that there's something.
There is. At least there was. I didn't do it this time, but last year I'm like, I got to call that. That's obviously something. It's 213-25 Vault is the number that they post. But if you called last year, there was a recorded message, and it was from Vault about the vaults and stuff. It was very fun.
Awesome. I love that kind of attention to detail. It's got a very Lost sensibility. I love that.
I was just gonna say, Lost. You could dial the Oceanic number, and you would get a recorded message saying that Oceanic is currently closed because of the accident. And I do too. I think that's really fun, particularly because in almost everything, 99.9% of the time, when someone's like, "What's your number?" It's always, "Well, it's 555," and you're just like, "Yeah, not a real number. Not real.
Yeah.
So
not at all. Nice. Yeah. And then, they're finished filming the commercial, and it's really, the commercial itself is really cute, and how they include like the scientists that have volunteered to stay in the vault for 5 years as like test people. And that's a really interesting sort of little nugget to learn. And then, when it's all finished up, it's all, the executives are all, high-fiving and shaking hands and thanks so much. And, oh, Coop, you were so great and fantastic. And then we get introduced to, Bud Askins.
Oh, man.
And man, is he everything that is wrong with corporate America.
Mm-hmm.
And he's very he's doing two things. He's trying to show off, but also ingratiate himself with Coop at the same time. And it's so slimy and smarmy, and it's just he's everything that sucks about people like that. But what's interesting is he's in the middle of trying to sort of give his resume. He's like, oh, and I've done this and this and this and this, and my accomplishments are thus.
Mm-hmm.
But he mentions that, he started with Vault-Tec because he was previously a part of this company called West Tech.
Mm-hmm.
And then we find out, it all sounds, hunky-dory, and then Coop calls him out on it.
Yeah.
And says, well, the West Tech designed a particular type of the armor.
The T-45.
T-80s. Yeah, and it was, similar to what the Brotherhood guys are wearing, that kind of T something
Mm-hmm.
armor. But the ones that they were given were faulty, and it led to a bunch of his, his fellow soldiers, American soldiers, and some of his ally soldiers being killed in battle, and in this fictitious Battle of Alaska, which I thought was really interesting.
Yeah, the Battle of Anchorage, and he basically says, because of your armor, we almost lost the great state of Alaska to the Reds.
Yeah. And it's interesting because it's interesting that we're covering this episode this week and that they talk about Alaska and that there was a battle in Anchorage or whatever, because we're literally right in the middle of not to go current events or whatever, but we're right in the middle of Trump meeting with Putin in Alaska. And now today's the day he was meeting with Zelensky from the Ukraine, with the other leaders from Europe, and they're in Washington. But Alaska was really in the news in the last few days. And to hilarious effect, so many people, if I had a nickel for the people that looked at, when you take the map and you lay it down flat, and people are like, why would they meet in Alaska? When you fly from Russia, you go right over Washington. And people don't understand that if you curve it around, it touches.
Mm-hmm.
And that it's, round. And there was literally someone on Twitter who was like, I am shook. I had no idea Russia was that close to Alaska. And I was like, were you not alive during the Sarah Palin? I can see Russia from my house.
Yeah.
Obviously. But I just think it's really interesting because that's a really... that's a place where it would make sense to have some type of fight against, the Ruskies or whatever is in Alaska, because we're practically touching Russia all the way out in some of the deeper parts of Alaska. So I just think it's really interesting that that's going on current events wise.
Right, when we're doing this, yeah.
And we're doing this, and, is it a little scary? I don't want to say that, but, it's concerning.
Yes. Yeah. Well, yeah, and a lot of the, geologists and historians and people believe that at one time the Aleutian Islands, which is part of Alaska, actually was a land bridge to Asia. And that's how a lot of the dinosaurs and the Neanderthals and people and creatures were able to migrate from that continent over to here. And so yeah, but you're right. It is just kind of a weird coincidence. I mean, a lot about this show, there's certainly, you can tell that that Bethesda Studios, and when they've created the game, 20 years ago, they came up with this, but it's certainly prevalent today with this idea of mega corporations are, so powerful in this game that governments are kind of secondary to them, and you can certainly suggest that's how far away are we from that right now? When you look at these, people, and just again, don't want to go super political, but just let's take someone like, I don't know, Elon Musk. That is a rich dude, right? A billionaire, owns massive companies, corporations, and look at how he was involved in the political spectrum. Whether it's donating money to campaigns, whether it's actually getting a position in the government, whatever. I'm just saying, whether you think it's good or bad, just look at the fact that his prior experience was, I'm rich. So
yeah. He doesn't have any like government experience, any political experience, but his experience was that he had really deep pockets.
Yeah, he had billions and billions,
and that's what got him aligned with people. So it's like you're right, and in this environment that we're in right now, it's there's Elon Musk, but there's literally like 5 guys that are like him, and that's it, and they own so much of the corporate America, the Jeff Bezos and the Bill Gateses and whatever, and you look at them and you're like, Elon was able to do that, and it just, you look at what happened here in Fallout and how government and corporations were so intertwined to to bad degree, obviously, and it makes you wonder, looking at current events and think, not making an opinion there, but just, very, 1991 CNC Music Factory, things that make you go, Yeah. And there you go.
Yes.
But yeah, that's definitely something to point out. And, speaking of that corporate stuff, that's literally the line that Bud is taking. He's going through all this stuff and talking through all these things, and like I said, trying to get on Coop's good side and like, cozy up to the famous Hollywood actor. And then he, when he says the stuff about working at West Tech, which was, knocked him down a couple of rungs, but then he keeps going.
Oh, he does.
And he keeps talking. And you put in that really great quote that he says, which is just like, it sounds like something that would come out of like Glenn Ross, for crying out loud. But I love this line. So go ahead and tell us.
Yeah, he just says a whole bunch, and I just kind of wrote the end. But when Coop calls him out on the armor and how the T-45 armor was, as you said, full of bugs and a lot of people died, his response is, yeah, well, I was more into HR. You know what I mean? So he immediately is like, well, I didn't like build it or design it. I just kind of marketed it, or whatever he says. But then he goes on to say that's what it's all about now, and he basically tells him the future of all humanity comes down to one word: management.
Isn't that crazy?
Oh, it is. Yeah.
It's not, and the thing is, like, if you work in an office style job like I do, there's so much, like, people just hate like corporate speak and that kind of stuff, and the way he says like what he's into, how did he say what his title is? He's in HR logistics.
Yeah, HR logistics. Like,
he's like, I'm all about putting people together. And when people talk that way, it makes me think of that scene in Office Space where the dude, where they were like,
I'm a people person.
Doesn't that guy do that thing? I'm a people person. I put people together. So like,
what would you say you do here?
And I'm really not sure that Bud could answer that question other than say exactly what that guy in Office Space does, which is, I'm a people person. I put people together.
Well, yeah.
And that's it. I really don't think he does anything else.
Yeah, he definitely gave off to me a Carter Burke vibe. The slimy corporate bureaucrat guy that is only looking at the bottom line. And I didn't write it down, but I think it's, very telling and very, I want to say, foreshadowy, that he basically tells Coop, he's like, how can you beat your competitors in the marketplace? He said, what is the best way to do that? What's the thing? It's time, and it's sort of like you outlast them. And again, think about what the show is showing us so far, right? That is a really interesting thing to say. And of course, Coop is just like blowing him off, like, yeah, right, I gotta go. You know what I mean? He's not really paying attention.
And it's crazy because in the grand scheme of things, Cooper has nothing but time. Right. He's the one who's been given the most time out of all these people. So it's just hilarious that Bud is like selling him on, the benefits of time, when it's like, he knows he's gonna find out.
Learn. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so he wants to get out of there with his wife, who's there, and she's like, "Oh, there's a rap party," and he's like, "Oh my God, we have to hang out for these." He's like, "Fine, you know what? We'll go for a couple of hours and then we'll get out of here." And then she goes, "It's at our house," and then he looks at her and he goes, "The things that I do for you," and so then it cuts to their house, and he's upstairs, and he's sort of like, getting dressed, and is like taking his sweet ass time because he just does not want to go down there and hobnob. And I love it because he picks up the newspaper. And they're like basically right there on the page that he's holding open is a full, like a half-page ad of him doing the thumbs up, and it's all Vault-Tec. The future is underground and called a day and blah blah blah. But what just made me laugh is that if you look right to the right of that, there is a story, and the headline of the story is "Nuka-Cola walks back new Nuka." which again, for younger folks, you might not know or might not remember or be familiar, but Coke in the 80s very famously rolled out this huge campaign that they had a new formula, and it was new Coke, and it was going to be great. You're going to love it, and it's going to be so awesome. And it tanked, and everybody hated it. And I got to tell you, new Coke tasted terrible too. I mean, it wasn't just
right.
There was so much resentment because Coke had been around since like the 1920s, and they were changing it, and people didn't like that. And so very quickly they reversed, course, and they basically came out and said, well, we're not getting rid of the old Coke. We're just going to have new Coke, and then we're going to introduce what, and they called it Coca-Cola Classic. And there were two. You could go to the store and buy two for a little while. And then very slowly over the next few years, they phased out new Coke. And then they eventually just started calling Coca-Cola Classic Coca-Cola. But it was just a PR disaster for them back in the day.
It's hilarious because to this day, like, you just call it Coke, right? Mm-hmm. No one calls it Coke Classic anymore. No. But it still says Coke Classic on the bottles and the cans.
Does it? See, I didn't even know.
So it's like, yeah. And so what's hilarious is that a couple of missteps in the 80s, and now they have that design, and they have to maintain that it's Coke Classic. Yeah. That is the classic recipe.
Yes.
And so that they won't upset the people.
Yeah. Oh.
Because let me tell you, the people were upset.
The people, they'd be crazy. Yeah. There was rioting in the streets almost. Yeah.
It was a crazy time to live through that. We're like, really? Oh, yeah. And then when they were doing all the Pepsi challenge with the tasting and whatever on the commercials. Yeah, we lived through.
We did the Cola Wars, and again, I know he's kryptonite now, but they shelled out big time bucks and got the #1 television guy in America at that point to be their pitch man for New Coke, and that guy was Bill Cosby.
And Pepsi was Michael Jackson.
Michael Jackson and Madonna.
Yeah, so it's like, it was all about pitting each other, like back and forth, like, I've got someone bigger, I've got someone bigger. What I mean? Anyway, but yes, the inclusion of walks back new Nuka is...
I laughed. I thought that was so funny. Great. Yeah. Oh, yeah. And so finally he comes down. I think it's really interesting because we see that here he has a dog, Roosevelt, and he loves his dog and is very, protective of it, which is totally different from Ghoul Coop, a few hundred years later, right? And then when he comes, and in his house, he's a man after my own heart in that he has movie posters all over the place in his house. Now, his are a little different than mine, that his are all movies that he was in. But when he comes to and goes down the stairs to join the party, at the top of the stairs is this massive, like, subway poster. And it's literally a movie called A Man and His Dog. And we see Coop wearing a cowboy hat, dressed in his cowboy attire, and the dog's kind of at his side. And my thought was a little foreshadowing, perhaps, of the Ghoul and CX-04, a few hundred years later. But some really nice touches. And so, but he goes down and has to kind of wade into all these corporate slimy people that he does not know and does not want to know, and just really wants to get the fork out of there.
Yeah. It's great too because there's a little tidbit too where if you watch the scene with the closed captions on, because when he's walking through the crowd, there's lots of like little whispers here and there.
Is that
like,
Cooper Howard?
That's him. That's Coop. That's what it. But the closed captioning picks up everything for you. So even if you couldn't quite make out like the whispers as he's walking through, you get to see everything that was said. And someone, was it Bud or someone else stops him about the Man and His Dog poster. And they were like, "Oh, I love that movie," and he made the comment where he's like, "That's my own dog in there."
Yeah,
so that's Roosevelt. That's in the movie with him, which I thought was a cute little thing.
You're right. It happens. It's not Bud. It's somebody else. And he said, "I love that movie," and he goes, "Me too," because it was my own dog. And
that's my own dog.
Oh yeah. But he does, and so he's looking for his wife, and of course, Bud is there, and it's like, "Coop, it's Bud Haskins. How you doing, man?" And he's just like, "Uh-huh."
Yeah, but at least he's in a situation where there's so many more people there. There's lots of social lubricant, so he can literally just like, I gotta go, goodbye.
Yeah, right.
Walk away. Which is great because then he goes aside.
I love this scene.
And then the scene with Sebastian is just fantastic. As soon as he starts talking, you're like, "Oh my God, it's the robot," and it is.
It is.
And I love that they did that. What a great little extra thing that they showed. This guy who he sold the rights to his voice to be used in the Mr. Handy robot, which we've already met. We've already met Sebastian before because he was the voice of Snip Snip.
Oh, he was?
In the
Super Duper Mart.
where it was like, "I'm going to harvest your organs."
Oh, no, that's terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've never been there, but I've always wanted to go. Yeah,
yeah.
Oh, and I should point out too,
it's great.
That's the guy who does the voice of the Mr. Handy in the game too. So.
Oh really?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't know that bit.
Yeah,
oh, that's great.
So that's
what a great connection. But to make it so that it's like this great voice that's throughout the show with the robot, which I'm sure it'll pop up later at some point again. We've already heard it a couple times. Now they connect it back to a voice actor.
Yeah.
And someone who like sold his voice to a commercial and da da da. So it's just a really great layer that they decided to add in there. And because what they could have done is they could have just had Coop go out to the pool, and it's like his only remaining Hollywood friend. But instead of it just being an actor, they made it like this other thing. And connected it back into the world of the future that we are seeing while they're in this flashback. And it's just a really funny scene. And he's trying to ask the waitresses that are there are like, "I love your voice. Do it again. And he does it, and he's doing the Mr. Handy voice. But then he's like, "Do you want to join Mr. Handy later?" And the one girl was like, "Oh, no, thank you. No. And then they walk away.
He's like, "Would you like to maybe later on we can go get in the hot tub?" And they're just like, "Oh no." Yeah. And so then of course Coop comes up, and they're out by themselves, and they're talking, and Coop is like, "You're the only like Hollywood person that would show up here with all these jackals." And he tells him a story about he's lost movie roles because of his affiliation with Vault-Tec. And he talks about the last movie he was on, the other actors wouldn't come out of their trailers under moral grounds. And I'm going to use air quotes here. And of course, Sebastian, is like basically telling him about how it's going, there are all these communists. And he mentions this friend, Charlie, who is a Native American who's been in a lot of the Westerns, and he is now a communist and goes to the meetings and all this stuff. And of course, Coop's like, "Not Charlie, crap, we served together. We served in Alaska together, what I mean?" So he's like, why would he fight the communists and then end up joining them? And I liked it because Sebastian kind of tells him, again, a really telling little speech he gives, a little bit of dialogue that is going, you think about what is it implying, and he tells Coop, "Coop, you got it right. Hollywood is dead. That's not where it is. The future is advertisements and products." And he goes, "The future's products." He goes, "You're a product. I'm a product. The end of the world is a product. And, people that are going to align themselves with the people that make the products, the future's golden. That's what he tells them. And so, again, it's really telling, about, the end of the world is a product. How can that be, right? So, yeah.
Yeah. And it's great because, like, he sort of, like, he sets it up, like, he tees it up, and then, Coop ends up having the scene, which we'll talk about later, where he meets up with Charlie. So it's nice how it's sort of, you can see Coop slowly starting to be disenchanted with the whole thing, and we do get a later scene where he and his wife have an argument over the dog and the getting in the vault, which we'll get into. But it's like the seed starts with Bud admitting he was connected to the T-45, which just rubs him absolutely the wrong way. And then all of this corporate sort of gobbledygook is just like, ugh, he's not liking it. And then his friend is being pushed out of Hollywood. And it's weird because it's kind of like the reverse of what did happen in Hollywood. Because in Hollywood, they went through this whole like Red Scare where people who were suspected communists, who were sympathizers with like Russia, etc., they were blackballed from Hollywood. And so this is almost like the opposite thing. Here you are trying to help the country with Vault-Tec, but people are connecting that with some other kind of like weird hyper governmental whatever, and are pushing people out because of it. So it's just interesting when you see sort of the parallels with the real life stuff too. So we get this great scene with Sebastian. He's got the best voice, and it's just fantastic.
Hello, sir. Yeah, it's so great.
Yeah.
I also
and then
love it too when he's like, do you know how much I sold the rights of my voice for? And Coop's like, I don't know, 10 million, and he just he stops dead in his tracks. He's like, I got 186 after taxes, like 186,000, and Coop's like, you should have asked for more. And he's like, I should have, he's like, my agent got me a robot, so he has like a Mr. Handy in his house, and he's like, so every time I come home, I hear my own voice tell me, would you like help sitting down?
And it's hilarious too, because here's Cooper like having this great meaningful conversation with Sebastian, and we know that like 200 years in the future he's going to be in scenes where it's like anytime he's around any kind of Mr. Handy robot, it's just programmed with his voice, and it's be like, that's my friend Sebastian. And he should, his voice has lasted for 200 years. Damn, he should have been paid more.
Yeah, whatever he got, it wasn't enough.
Wasn't enough. So we come out of this cold open with the title card, which you included here.
Yeah, we get Fallout, and the letters of Fallout, they I kind of wrote it down as like a toxic waste kind of a green, like a glowing neon green. And whether it's toxic or maybe radioactive, it's something icky. And the whole Fallout kind of glows, and it's sort of pulsing and so on. And that's what we get for the title card this time around. And I found it really interesting because what it suggested to me, and I don't know if you saw this or if you think I'm crazy. I mean, I know you think I'm crazy, but do you think I'm crazy about this killer thing? And that is what I took from it was, it suggests that the title card it's toxic, and it's radioactive, and it's sort of decaying and yucky, and I'm applying that to the whole pre-war world, that there's sort of this contamination, that there's this toxicity that's attached to Vault-Tec, and everything that Coop's kind of getting into every step of the way. His gut is telling him, these are terrible people, do not be there, but he's kind of doesn't got any choice. His wife is working there and is dragging him in. What does she say later on? Now that you're doing the ads, it's kind of the family business, right? And so anyway, that's what I took from it, was it's sort of suggesting that everything you're seeing here, it looks kind of shiny and pretty, but underneath the surface, it's toxic and decaying and cancerous and awful and so on.
Yeah. That's an interesting interpretation, because to me, because that's more of a like more of a sort of a subtextual thing,
Mm-hmm.
and I think it works. It totally works. Because I feel like all of the other ones have been very kind of literal.
Yeah.
Like they showed like the peeling paint, and then the very next scene we see peeling paint.
Right.
We don't get that sort of
there's not that direct
literal
connection.
thing.
Yeah.
In a following scene, like right away. I felt like it kind of connected to the stuff you see on level 12, but that's all the way at the end of the episode. Mm-hmm. So it's the only thing where I felt like it connected to something nuclear. So maybe it is. Maybe it's meant to be something like this whole situation. I mean, both of them. You figure what Coop is dealing with in the flashback, plus the makeup of Vault 4 and what Lucy is dealing with, discovering that they're not really, altogether, sane, as it were. But so there's a toxicity in both of those stories. So maybe you're right. Maybe it is, these two situations where people are in situations that they can't get out of, and they're becoming aware slowly but surely that it's toxic and everything about it is not great.
Well, and also in both cases you have these two characters where the character that they're with in both of them is totally enamored with the world, whether it's Karen, Barb, his wife Barb, who is working for Vault-Tec and is obviously drinking the Kool-Aid, or it's Maximus, who, let's face it, he's drinking the Kool-Aid there at the end, So again, the person that kind of you got into this situation with doesn't want to leave, even though every fiber of your being is saying, "Oh my God, get out now!" So. Yeah. I don't know. That's just what struck me, and particularly the second time I watched it, where I was really kind of, grinding down, looking for the granular bits. But again, it's an interesting title card again, which I, like we said, is really fun.
Yeah. So the moral of the story is about this particular thing, not crazy.
Woo-hoo! Take that, psychiatrist group.
The rest of it, though, it's a little squidgy. So we, after the title card, we get,
I want you to describe this scene.
This is I put it down as Maximus appears confused about sex.
Did you see what I put?
Yes. What did you put,
Steve? You can read it.
Maximus is spot on about sex.
Yeah, that was just me reading your notes and going, I got to put something in there to counter that. But
God.
But think about it. That kid probably has never had a sex education or a health class or any kind of anyone teaching him about the human body and what happens. And so all he has are like what the other kids say and that he grew up. So it's not that crazy, but oh my God, it's like, oh my dude, really?
Yeah. And it's crazy too, because like the elements that he has are, it's pretty stereotypical for like, young boys before they know what's going on. They may have like a wet dream, and it's clear he's had that, and he doesn't know what it means because he's still like that young boy who didn't get any education about it, and they think it's something weird and strange and oh my God, it's really bizarre. Because if you take that out of context, that is a really bizarre thing for your body to do.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, when you put it into the other contexts, it makes sense. Out of context, what the fuck is happening?
Well, and just the way he talks about like it happening, he's like, but it never happened to me. I just heard about it.
Lies.
Oh yeah, but but you're right. It's like it's almost like he's embarrassed to even suggest that it happened. And so but at the same time, he's clearly heard about having sex. That phrase, and that but he's not really sure what that is.
Yeah. He's it's crazy too, because he's trying to like he's trying to be friendly with Lucy. He doesn't want to like put her off, but he also is really nervous that it's like a situation where he doesn't know what, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's embarrassed, but also, you know, it's so interesting. And I like how he gets out of the situation by basically saying, you know, but the Brotherhood,
I'm a knight,
kind of, I can't, and you know, and she's just like, okie dokie.
Yeah. Oh yeah. But I like how he kind of explains what he thinks happens, and she's like, actually, that's completely normal, and you want that to happen every time, and he's just like, what, yeah.
He's just so like oh god, it's probably like. It's a scene that like I'm glad I wasn't with somebody. Like it's an awkward scene. The poor guy, and he's just all over the place, and he's just so. And the thing is like the way the scene resolves. Lucy's like okie dokie, and she just lays back down.
Mm-hmm.
She's basically just like, I'm bored.
Yeah.
What can we do?
Uh-huh.
And she's like, oh, we can do this. But she's like, whatever. No big deal. And so she just lays back down, and he's just like sitting there, and you can see he's just sort of like looking over at her and checking her out a little bit and whatever. And so it's clear that he finds her attractive.
Oh yeah.
And that he likes Lucy. Like he likes Lucy.
I think it's safe. Lucy makes him feel all tingly.
Yes. But he's inexperienced and doesn't understand what the tingly part is.
Right.
So he's feeling uncomfortable and kind of stupid and embarrassed. So the easiest way to get out of it is just, I'm a knight. I can't do any of that.
Well, he's definitely trying to.
Even if I wanted to.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. But he's definitely trying to like keep the I'm cool. And I know all about sex, and I have had it a ton, and I'm really good at it. And I can't do it now. I would love to. Believe me, I'm like this close to doing it, but I can't because the whole night thing. Yeah. So there's definitely a lot of that like young, inexperienced, kid that like really wants to jump into it, but is like, I don't know what to do. So yeah.
I do like to, as they sort of like. They're in like this quarantine area.
Mm-hmm.
So just like this small room, and it's got like a porthole window at the one end, which we are the observer as the audience. And so the camera is looking through that porthole window, but as they are like resolving that scene, the camera backs out. And it's going away from the view inside the room, and it shows you the door and the opening, and it says at the top, test subjects. Yes, it does. Which is great because, as we can see from their outfits and whatever, they are in Vault 4. Vault 4 is the vault that Coop films the commercial in the beginning of the episode. And they even show the test subjects thing, like the area. So this is the exact same one, so it's just a really interesting tie, like back to the flashback part of the episode. I thought that was a really cool thing.
And remember that the scientist family that he interacts with in the commercial, they say that the goal of Vault 4 is to study the effects of radiation on the human body. So that's going to come into play, particularly when people start like blowing their nose twice in a minute.
Exactly. So we also get this great scene where they're finally let out of quarantine, and they're like they're having it's when they're having the meal, right? And they're just sort of sitting out in sort of common area.
In the park area, where it's obviously it's not out in the outdoors, but it's an open area with the fake grass and all that stuff. And and it's breakfast time, and she's eating like sugar frosted sugar bombs or something. A big bowl of cereal, and I love this because at the beginning he's like, we have to get out of here. And it's like, we should be leaving, right? And she's like, well, first of all, we got to step back further. They take the bullet out of his arm, and we find out that it's actually a tooth.
Oh, it's gross.
That was awesome. And the Vault-Tec's doctor is like, oh, I guess they'll use anything for ammunition up there. And he's like, we need an antibiotic. And Maximus is like, I'm fine. We should go. And they're like, you had a rotting tooth inside your body for a little while. You're not fine, son. And you're just like, oh, gross. And so the order from the doctor is you got to spend a little time here just to recover before you leave. And so when they're having the breakfast thing, he is like very much convinced that like they're not going to let us leave. You don't get it, Lucy. That we're trapped here. That much like the title of this episode. If you read the script, Lucy, you would have seen that it's called The Trap. And he's like, we gotta go. And Lucy is like, what are you? We're fine. These people are awesome. We are good. We're in a vault. You don't understand. This is the safest place there is. And those two worldviews are gonna swap. Very quickly, in about the next 15 minutes. It's like, because Lucy eventually is like, hey, you know what? You were right. We got to go. And he's like, but I have a robe and slippers. You know what I mean? And he's just like,
and they gave me a tin of caviar. And it's delicious.
Yeah. And he's just like, I really like it here. Yeah. But at this point, no. And it's right at that moment. And she kind of says, look, you can't leave right away because the doctor said you got to wait. So let's just, hang out here and enjoy it because it's amazing. And it's right at that moment that that woman comes back up that she was talking to earlier, one of the Vaulties. And she's like, the overseer would like to say a real quick word. And so Lucy's like, great. So,
because she's all pro vault, and it's like, oh my God, the overseer, we're so important.
And so that woman steps aside, and Overseer Benjamin steps up, and how would you describe Overseer Benjamin, if you could?
Cyclops?
Yeah, I would think so, right? Yeah, he's got one eyeball, and first of all, I have to say it's played by the actor Chris Parnell. And I love Chris Parnell. He is so funny. He, if the name doesn't sound familiar, trust me, as soon as you see him and hear his voice, you're like, I know that guy.
Okay.
He was on
Saturday Night Live.
So
many other things.
He was in the Cowbell sketch, right? I mean, he's one of those from that era. He was Dr. Spajekman on 30 Rock. He was. He is hilarious on Brooklyn Nine-Nine. He's usually like he will guest appear. He's never like the main guy. He will be a guest character. And he was great as this coked up DA in Brooklyn Nine-Nine. And he is one of the main voices in the Rick and Morty cartoons. I mean, the guy always makes me laugh. He always does these weird, quirky, funny characters. And Overseer Benjamin is no exception. I mean, he's great and weird. And so Lucy is completely taken aback by this guy only has one eyeball, and it's right in the middle of his forehead, And then she starts kind of looking around, and for the first time she realizes that there are all kinds of weirdos in this vault.
Yeah, like one guy, he's like, oh, let me pull my, he had like a hairnet on because he was involved in food, took his hairnet on, and he has a nose in the middle of his forehead.
So funny. Yeah. Oh, yeah. And
I love
other people, too. But what I love is, like, right away, as soon as Lucy sees the eyeball, this is where Lucy's worldview on Vault 4 immediately starts to change.
Oh, God,
And so I wrote down this line because Overseer Benjamin comes up, and he's like, hey, guys, just wanted to say hi. And obviously, welcome to Vault 4. Just some housekeeping, a few things to be aware of. Stay out of level 12. Obviously, we prefer you not go there. Oh, and we only have one foosball table. So if you want to play, you got to sign up. If there's no pencil on the sign-up sheet, please let me know. I do have pencils. Oh, and if you're unfamiliar with how the bathrooms work, just ask. Asking is less embarrassing than getting it wrong. Trust me. And, of course, all Lucy is focusing on the what's wrong with level 12?
Yeah, and obviously, like, the single eye, like, and the thing you have to understand is that she is used to, like, white bread America, like, normal people in the vaults, like, people who have, like,
2 eyes.
Abnormalities and stuff like that are not uncommon on the surface because they've been exposed to radiation, and then through the, DNA process over a couple of generations, you might have an extra arm, or maybe only 2 fingers, or maybe one eye.
Eyeball. An extra nose,
yeah, exactly.
Perhaps.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But she's not familiar with seeing that kind of stuff inside the vault, so everything is weird for her. Now she's and like you said, she's looking around and seeing all the other people that are like that. Now Maximus has spent a lot of time on the surface, so it really doesn't shake him at all.
No.
He's more like, let me tuck into this meal and enjoy the atmosphere a little bit. And he's fine. He doesn't think it's weird at all.
When she points out that the overseer only had one eye, and he's like, a lot of people only have one eye, and she's like, yeah, but his was in the middle of his head, and Maximus is like, yeah, it was kind of off to the left a little, but so Lucy is freaking out, and then like this woman vaulty walks by, and her like eyes are like glowing blue, and she has almost like gills. Like there's something with her cheeks and her neck and stuff, and Lucy realizes that she's staring at her, and the woman like realizes, and Lucy's like, sorry, have a nice day, it's trying to make up for it, and then Lucy talks to the woman with the long black hair, and I did not get her name, I didn't write it down, but and she's like, you have like a lot of people from outside the vault, and that woman's like, oh, I'm from outside the vault. And
Birdie.
Birdie was that it? Yeah, okay. And she's and Lucy's like, really? And she's like, well, yeah, we take all kinds of people in. Do you not do that in your vault? And she's like, well, to be honest, no.
No.
But yeah, her worldview is definitely shaken by that, and so. It's gonna, this is like the first step of her, her and Maximus doing the Freaky Friday and completely swapping, their views on how great Vault 4 is and if they want to stay. But yeah, I love that scene. Like I said, I love Chris Parnell. I thought he was, he's always funny, and this performance was no exception. So. Yeah.
We get when we sort of pivot away from the vault for a little bit, we get this nice some nice ghoul stuff. So we pivot back to him, and he is passed out at the Super Duper Mart. And these guys come in that are like sheriffs of some kind, and they gather him up, and he's being arrested, which is interesting.
I hate to break it to you, boys, but if you were here for the ice cream social, you weren't invited.
Yeah, it's great. It's so great. And he's obviously on some kind of like, because he went on kind of a
he went on a bender,
shoot up the good stuff. He went on a little bit of a bender. So clearly it affects you physically as well, like, almost like having like drugs or alcohol, because he's just like laid out on the floor and is not able to sort of get around. So they're able to sort of take advantage in that moment, and they grab him, and he gets all he gets like bound by the wrists and whatever, and they take him out and they start marching him back to the man in charge, and come to find out when they get there that this is he's calling himself the president. And I love the sign where they were like, when they get to his location, the president's location, it literally, the sign says government, but it's like MINT, like mint, like a minty fresh, whatever. So it's totally spelled wrong, which just makes me laugh.
And it's also just GOVER, mint.
Yeah,
government. Yes, it's great.
Yeah.
It's great. Yeah.
Yeah. So they're bringing him to the president of the government, and it's this guy named Sorrel Booker, and the ghoul knows him. So clearly they must have run together at some point. And he even says, they've got history, and it's great because they've got this relationship, this prior relationship, so they're able to sort of spar back and forth, and it's just this great scene. And he eventually gets the upper hand, of course, I'm not surprised. And he kills the 2 sheriffs that are there. And we don't see what happens to Sorrel, but, we can assume. But what's great is, like, in this room on the wall behind, there's these wanted posters. And one of them is him. And they're drawings. And it's a drawing of him. So he makes a comment about it as he's coming in, and they tear it off the wall, whatever. And there's a couple of other people. If you look, you can spy that there's another ghoul on the wall, and it looks like Roger, who they ran into, who also was like a bounty hunter of some kind. He made it clear, and the guy on the wall looks like Roger.
Could be Roger.
I'm Roger. Yeah, so it could be.
You guys probably want to clear out then.
But then when after Cooper gets the upper hand and he's dispatched the sheriffs and whatever, he's getting ready to sort of get out of there, and he looks at the wall again, and it's sort of uncovered. There's another wanted poster there, and we see the picture, and we know it's Moldaver.
Yeah.
And he's like, he asks Sorrel, why you got her on the wall. And, he's like, they call her the Flame Mother, but her name's Moldaver. And he asks her, Coop about him. And he's like,
you know her?
And he's like, she looked different the last time I saw her.
Yeah.
Or she looked different when I met her. And, you make the assumption that he's clearly talking about, today, like he's seen her in this timeline, but we'll find out something different later.
Yeah. Also, we should point out that they bring him in and he's tied up, and the way that he gets away is he's like, can I have my sewing kit? And so they open up one of his saddlebags. He opens it up, and in there is his finger that Lucy bit off, and he sews his finger back on. So now both of them have had their fingers surgically reattached, in a way. But that's how he kind of gets the upper hand, because his friend Sorrel cuts the bonds that his wrists are tied together so he can sew. And he's like, come on, Sorrel, you and I, we've known each other a long time, and so he's playing it cool. And then eventually Sorrel's like, I can't let you go because, you did destroy the Super Duper Mart, and that was under our protection, and if we let that go, then it's going to get out that we can't protect people, and then what good are we? We won't get our money or whatever. And so he's like basically saying, I'm sorry, I don't have any choice, that it's not personal, it's just business. And so then of course by this point he's untied, and so then he I think Sorrel tells the deputies to take him out back and feed him to the hogs or something, and that's when he gets the upper hand and kills both of those dudes, and then he pulls the picture off the wall of Moldaver, and he says, she looked different when I met her. So
which is great, because you're like, it's interesting because up to every time Cooper finds out about someone else, like, when he's like McLean with Lucy, so there's some recognition there when she's talking about her dad, and now he's got some kind of connection to Moldaver, that he's met her at some point. It's just, the secrets, the Cooper secrets are just, they're stacking up. They're stacking up.
That's the problem. They're all going to come out eventually.
I know.
And I think then we jump back to that scene that you kind of hinted at, where Coop and Barb are eating dinner.
Yes.
And that's when Barb is like, it's going to be really, because he asked like where their daughter is, and she's like, she's upstairs reading Little House on the Prairie to the dog. And he's like, is he liking it? And then she immediately kind of sighs and is like, it's going to be really hard on her in the vault because they don't allow pets, and they don't allow dogs. And Coop, that like really like strikes a nerve with Coop, because he's like, well, who made that rule? And she's like, it's the policy. And he's like, well, that's crap. I want to know who's making the rules. And they kind of get into a little fight almost, because he's like, when we get there, okay, what else are they not telling me? Is the blue jumpsuit, is that the only thing that we get to wear? So what if I want to wear a green jumpsuit? And she's like, we're talking about the end of the world, and you're worrying about your wardrobe. And he's like, hey, I didn't fight, in the wars to not have any freedom. And then, they're kind of going at it. And he, again, it's furthering his path down this road of, I don't like Vault-Tec. I don't trust Vault-Tec. There's something going on at Vault-Tec. And kind of like Norm, in that he thinks his wife is still innocent, much like Norm, has not really talked about, well, his dad obviously was in on whatever was going on. It's more like, these are people that maybe got caught up in something and can't get out of it, but they're still good people, and, that type of thing. But yeah, I really like that little scene, because she is, very adamant of, we're both with Vault-Tec now. I can't quit. He talk about like giving up acting and like buying a farm or a ranch in like Bakersfield. Yeah. And she just kind of rolls her eyes like, pie in the sky, man. Well, that's not going to happen. But yeah, it was a real cool scene. What did you think about that scene?
I liked it because here's the thing. I see both sides of it, She is, first of all, this is her job, mm-hmm. and she needs her job, and she's trying to plan for the future. And it's not a future that people would want to think about. Nobody wants to plan for it. It's like she's doing the equivalent of buying their headstones and their grave plots. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right.
It's something you don't want to say, I got to do this, but, she's got to do it. And they're in this situation where there's more and more threats, and they don't feel safe. And so it's like, it looks like there may be some type of nuclear war, and she is just preparing for the eventuality. Mm-hmm. But Cooper, his point of like, who makes the rules, who was, because this is a private company. Mm-hmm. So who in that private company is making the rules? There's got to be a board or a group or something. And so his argument is valid, Yeah. He's not arguing whether or not, and she explains the reason why, dogs aren't allowed in. They eat meat, and it'd be it's an unnecessary drain of resources. When you're trying to save the human race, right. You got to make some choices. And so it makes sense. And I think, Coop's a smart guy, and I don't think he disagrees that makes sense, that tactic makes sense. He is trying to pick at the scab of like, yeah, but who made that call? Yeah. Who was like, yeah, dogs are expendable? And it's not the call that he's upset with. It's not knowing who's in charge.
Not knowing who's in charge, and what else are.
Yeah, and he and his wife, they're signing up for this for themselves and their daughter.
Right.
So he's getting his whole family involved, and so he just wants some answers. So it's a really great scene because it's right. It's the argument right at the crux of the whole story, which is, would you give up a little bit of your freedom so that you could live?
Yeah, survive.
That's a tough one. If you could certainly keep your dog, but you're not getting inside a vault.
Right. Yeah. Good luck.
But I like also, he's still obviously, and he's trying to keep his marriage afloat too. Mm-hmm. So he's, he comes to her side eventually, and it's like, I'm sorry for that. And then when she says, my job, it guarantees us a spot in the vaults. She says, one of the good vaults.
Yeah.
And he's like, what?
He said, what does that mean?
And she's like, never. Yeah. And she's like, never mind.
Yeah.
But like, hello, what does that mean?
Exactly. Yeah. That's actually in the hot tub scene, which is like a little later than this one. But yeah, I get all this stuff, and we're seeing the separation of these two. Because remember, during the party at the beginning, alimony, right? It's suggested that he is not married anymore, and I also like too that the scene opens and the phone rings, and he answers it, and it's like her assistant from Vault-Tec, and the assistant's like, hey, can I talk to Barbara real quick? And Coop is like, I'm sorry, my wife doesn't take business calls, after like 3 or in the evening or something. And he just hangs up the
Yeah.
phone. But it just shows you that she's getting more and more absorbed and into Voltec stuff. And it's taking over more and more of her time, and occupying her. And so they're becoming less of a couple and a family unit. And it's more of she's with all of her Voltec people, more. And I thought that was really interesting. But yeah, then there's the next scene then where I think he goes to the bar. I think that's the next scene. And he's no, actually I take that back. They cut back and show something in the vault, and then when they come back, they're in the hot tub, and that's where they have this drag out fight about, because he wants to go to Bakersfield and she's like, we need to be in a vault because the world is, bad stuff is coming, it's inevitable. And yeah, and that's when she does the line of like, our job, because she's like, because it guarantees us a spot in the vaults. And he's like, but we have money, we can buy our way in. And she's like, no, one of the good vaults, like you said. And literally he's like, what does that mean? And then she kind of has that look of like, uh-oh, I might have overstepped a little. Yeah. And so she's just like, you know what I mean? It's like one of the ones that we want to be in, trust me, and she kind of plays it off. But yeah, all of this is going to force him and get him to go track down his friend Charlie, who is, and again I'm going to use air quotes, is a communist now and is been blacklisted. But yeah, I love it. I love all the steps that we're seeing him take on this road to get to be who he is.
Yeah, and it's great because the scene in the bar with Charlie is really great, because he brings up a really good point, which is he's basically saying, the government is the one that's involved with like whether or not we do or don't go to war, right? Mm-hmm. But Vault-Tec is a company, but Vault-Tec is very they want a nuclear war to happen. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, all these people will want like their money refunded.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Oh,
yeah. Like leading up to this big scare, you've got this like group of people that are like, they're primed to purchase. But then what do you say when, peace talks work, mm-hmm. and they avert a nuclear war? Then it's like, oh, great, I'm so glad.
I can cancel that membership.
Can I have my money back?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, it goes back to what Sebastian said. The end of the world is a product.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
And they're selling it, and they're trying to get the government involved in, greasing the sail. Mm-hmm. Maybe we could have a little bit of nuclear war just so that we could, share all the profits on this Vault-Tec thing, mm-hmm. and the things that Charlie says, where he's like, this is, the government has a stake in this not working because they're so aligned with Vault-Tec. They're so, hand in hand. They're intertwined that they've got a stake in us actually going to nuclear war. So it's really scary.
Yeah. What I took out of it was that Charlie's point, and he's trying to get Coop to go to the meetings. You really need to hear what we have to say, and he just points out that he's like, look, Vault-Tec is $1 trillion company, and the government is, I think the line he says is broke as a joke, because it's been fighting these conventional wars for like the last 10 years. And he's like, he reminds Coop about this movie that they made. And, he says, in the movie, one of their friends was this cattle rancher. And, he became super powerful. He was super wealthy. And then he goes, and what happens when the cattle ranchers have more power than the sheriff? And Coop goes, the whole town burns down. And Charlie's like, yeah, the whole town burns down. The point that I was going to make there before we kind of got, technically interrupted, is that I don't think it's so much the government is in cahoots with Vault-Tec as it's just Vault-Tec is going to make that decision on their own.
Right.
And is kind of powerless to stop it because Vault-Tec, much like the cattle ranchers, is more powerful than the government now.
Yeah.
And so if their bottom line, again, this is disgusting to think about, but if their corporate bottom line and the survival of the company means that the world has to have an atomic war, and what does Barb say? 90% of the world population is going to be exterminated. Then that's what they're going to do because it's all about the survival of Vault-Tec. That's the number one goal for Vault-Tec.
Yeah.
It's
very me kind of environment.
Yeah. And again, it's a great scene, and Charlie really, I think, scores some points with Coop, because Coop is very much questioning a lot about Vault-Tec now.
Yeah.
And based on the last couple of scenes with his wife, and obviously the stuff with Bud and all the people at the party and so on. So I think, he's like, look, because Charlie gives him a business card for this funeral home or something, right?
It's the Hollywood Forever Cemetery, which is really great that's where the meeting's gonna be.
That's what they mean. Okay, yeah, I knew it was something like that. And so literally he's like, you should come to a meeting. And then Charlie leaves, and Coop orders another drink from the bartender, and he's literally looking at that card. Yeah. And you can see the wheels are turning. The groundhog or the gerbil is running on the wheel in his head. I mean, without a doubt. So
the wheel is spinning for sure.
Yes, absolutely.
And it's great because we get, it's a really great way in this episode that they kind of had a lot of the path of Coop in the flashback sort of line up with Lucy's disillusionment as well.
Yeah.
We sort of pivot right from this scene where he's disillusioned with the company, and he's disappointed in his wife, and there's just this fracture, and then Charlie's there and gives him the card and gives him this opportunity to sort of have some place to put that. And then we sort of pivot back to Vault 4 and for the current timeline, and we see Lucy is she's confused, she's concerned a little bit. They're both in sort of this transitional phase where Maximus is starting to come around a little bit, but he's not fully there, and Lucy is starting to lose faith, but she's not fully there. And what really puts her over the edge is she attends, and I'm using air quotes, the Flame Mother ceremony, unknowingly. And oh my god, that scene, it's hilarious how it just sort of escalated so quickly. She's following along, she's doing the little chant and raising her hands and everything. And then as soon as the first person starts unzipping their shirt and it becomes clear everybody's going to start taking their clothes off, and she's just you could hear her in her head saying, okie dokie. She's just let's just keep moving along. And she doesn't stop. She continues with the sort of hand gesture stuff. And then, and they then there's this substance goes around that they rub it on their forehead, and it's these ashes, and then
that's the first thing. They pass it around, and they're putting a streak right over their eyebrows. Yeah. And so she does it too, and right after she does it, they announce it's the ashes of people who have died, and the look on their face is I did what now?
What's on my forehead? I'm sorry, what?
That's the first red flag, and then they all start slowly unzipping and taking off their jumpsuits, and they're all just dropping trout. They're all naked, right?
Yeah.
There's all kinds of boobs and stuff suddenly in the scene, and she's looking around what is happening? What is happening? And you're right. She unzips about a quarter of the way, and then she's
shakes her head.
I'm not gonna do that. Yep. No.
That was a great moment.
Then they hand out, and Birdie is sort of leading it, and she's talking about all the people that have fallen, and we honor them, and blah blah blah, and they pass around this big like vessel, and people are like drinking out of it, and it's clear it's like blood.
Yeah, and that's another. Maybe this is time to stop. Maybe I should go.
Yeah. Right. But they do bring out this large like mural or something of the fire or the flame mother. Yeah. And surprise, surprise.
It's Moldaver.
It's who?
Yeah, Moldaver. Oh my god. I have some questions. Oh no, we'll get to my questions later. That's after the Cooper meeting. Let's finish off the flame mother thing. So she's of course like, well, what are they doing? Like they're almost worshiping. It's very cult-like. They're worshiping at the altar of. They're calling her the Flame Mother, and Lucy is so confused because this is the woman who stole her father, and she doesn't like. What is happening?
These are vault people. What is going on?
Yeah. But then she also knows that they live in the vault, but they're not vault people because they're surface people because they have the issues with like their DNA and all of that. So she's already suspect of them being vault versus real vault versus like half vault, if you as it were. So she's in like such a confused place. She's really just she backs away and finally she just like, I have to get out of here. Meanwhile, while she's going through that, Maximus is he's questioning staying there, and Birdie catches him because he looks like he's gonna try and steal the fusion core that's there. He's thinking about it.
The Vault 4 people go out and they find his armor and they bring it back. So it's in the vault and he's there looking at it, and then he realizes there's no fusion core again, and then he asks, like, there's a guy like putting in light bulbs or something right there, and he's like, hey, what is your power source?
Yeah.
and then literally the next scene.
Such an innocent question.
An innocent question, yeah, right. And then literally the next scene, he's like in the power room, which, by the way, identical in the game with the big glowy, stalagmites from the floor and stuff that we see. I mean, yeah, exactly like it is in the game. And again, vaults do have a power core, and the console that it's in looks just like that. And he's like, hitting all the buttons and stuff, like he's gonna remove it from take the power source for the whole vault just so he can power up his armor. And that's when Birdie kind of walks in on him and goes, oh, you're looking at our fusion core, and he's like, oh yeah, I'm not gonna take it though. You know what I mean? Yeah. He's got that like the kid with the hand caught in the candy jar.
Oh, for sure.
And she gives him a Pip-Boy with a street address, like a number, and said, why don't you go to your room and you can actually spend the night in your room, and maybe that'll make you feel a little more safe. Because it just says something like, it's really hard to feel safe when your whole life you haven't, or something, which up on the surface, it's not like that. So he does. He goes and he finds this room, and the Pip-Boy opens the door and he goes in, and there's a big like welcoming basket full of all this food. The deviled eggs are in there, right? The mac and cheese, all the stuff we've seen up to this point, with a little handwritten card saying, welcome to your new home, with a question mark, which I thought was really interesting because, of course he was like, I want to leave. Yeah. And so he is like looking at it all, and he opens up the caviar, and he like he doesn't know what to do with it, and he rubs some on his finger, and then he eats it, and then you can tell he likes it because he like eats all of it off his fingers. And then it's great, he walks outside out of his room, and he sees someone, and he's like, hey, what is this?
Yeah, no kidding. And so just the whole scene of him sort of discovering each little thing in there is really like, you can see he's sort of like, each little thing is like ticking off like a he just gets more and more and more and more invested and interested in staying in the vault.
Yes. Well, and one of the things that Birdie says is, when you get to your room, you could take a hot shower. you know, and then get a good night's sleep. And so he's like,
Yeah.
And then he goes, so when you say hot shower, what does that mean?
and then you see him experiencing it. Oh my God.
Oh my God. Yeah. And he's just like, oh, this is the great. And then that's when he gets out of the shower and he puts on the white Vault-Tec robe and he slips into the white Vault-Tec slippers. And you know, he just is going to sit down and just like go to town on all the food that they have given him in that little welcome basket. Yeah. So while he's doing that, Lucy is you know the exact opposite. She's like souring by the minute on on what's going on. And before the Flame Mother scene, there's a scene where she goes in to see the overseer in his office.
Yes.
and it's hilarious because you know he's like when it starts he's like, and then you push the little lever on the top and it all goes away. And she's like, yep, that's how a toilet works.
Yeah.
and she's like, I'm from a vault. And he's like, really? And then he opens up her file and he's like, oh my God, you're right, Goosey. And she's like, oh no, my name's Lucy. And then this is hilarious. He puts on these pair of glasses for like 2 eyes.
Yeah.
But he only has the one in the middle. And he's like squinting and he's looking at the file and he's like, nope, it says Goosey.
Yeah. The files can't be wrong.
Files can't be wrong, you know. And so and anyway, and so she's like, okay, whatever. But then she asks him, she's like, I was just wondering, why is it that we can't go to level 12? And he immediately is like, that's it, get out, you're done.
Yeah.
You know, we're conversation over. And he, by the way, he points out that he is not from the surface. He is a vault guy.
Yeah.
5th generation, yet he has the one eyeball.
So what does that mean?
Well, again, remember the scientists with Coop said they were studying the effects of radiation on humans.
Exactly.
So maybe there's a little thing going on here. I don't know. Yeah, right. So, but again, it adds to the intrigue, and he. I mean, again, it's a very funny speech where he talks about, you know, all the surfies and their weird ass, you know, rituals and their foods, and you got to be nice to them, otherwise they won't vote for you, and you know, and you can't make the one joke that I might have told 10 times, and she's like, what was the joke? And he's like, I can't remember, but it bombed. You know, and then she doesn't laugh, and he's like, she doesn't get it, you know. But I mean, it's a wonderful, weird Chris Parnell speech. It's awesome.
And I love the joke that he does the 2 times where he goes to take a sip of his coffee and he spits it out. He's like, I sipped the one with the mold in it. And he puts it down, and then she says something, and he goes to take another sip, and he spits out again.
Yeah, he does the spit take again. Yeah. Oh, yeah. But as soon as she brings up Vault 12, that's it. Get out of the office. You know, we're done. And so she's like, what? Something is off. And it's at that point that she sees all these people that are all like moving down the hallways to the ceremony. And a couple of these kind of younger Vault people are like, do you want to join us? You're welcome to join us. And so she's like, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
And they're 2 of the first ones that are unzipping and dropping trow, you know, and are just totally into it. Yeah. So, but you're right. It's really cool that we see Maximus totally buying in and drinking the Kool-Aid and going, Vault 4, man, sign me up.
Yeah.
And she's like, because I believe then after the ceremony, she goes and finds him, and she's like, you were right. We got to get out of here. And he's like, but I have a robe and slippers, you know, yeah. And he's like, you want an oyster? They taste really good, you know. And he's totally, and she's like, no, we got to go, man. And he's like,
Yeah, it's great, too, because of the other reaction to the oysters, because he's like, these are great. They make you feel good. And he's like, want to have sex now?
Yeah. He said, he's like, you want to use my cock? And then he goes, I mean intercourse.
Yeah.
And she's like, no, pull it together, man. We gotta go.
We gotta get out of here. Yeah. So and he's not going anywhere, and basically she's like, she knows she has to like find something to show him physically.
Yes.
So she's like, I'm going to go find out what it is they're doing here. You stay put. And he's like, okay. Mm-hmm. So she basically, that's when she leaves to go up to level 12, which we'll get to that scene.
Yeah. I think then before we do that, don't we cut back and get, I can't remember.
We get Cooper meeting, going to the meeting.
Okay, that's the next thing. Yeah. Okay. And that's another great scene.
Oh, of course. Yeah. So you could tell he's the picture of hesitation, because he's like, he gets out of the car, he walks slowly over, he's going up the stairs, he's looking everywhere around, and he doesn't want to be found out as well.
Right.
Right. Because these guys are against Vault-Tec, so that means they're un-American, So. Oh,
yeah. He'll get blackballed, too. He knows that.
For sure. So he's being very careful. He's looking around and make sure nobody sees him, and he goes in, and he meets up with his friend Charlie, and he's like, and Charlie's like, I'm so glad you came. I knew you would. And then this woman comes up, and we see her from behind. Oh, I'm so glad you came. I'm so glad to meet you. And then they show her face, and it's Moldaver.
Mm-hmm. It is. And she says, oh, Cooper, I'm a big fan.
Yeah. I have questions.
Uh-huh.
I have many questions, and I don't remember if they're resolved in this season or if we need to wait to get more information, because the last 2 episodes are still really fuzzy to me, because I binged it too hard. Ooh, thunder, lightning. Ooh.
I heard that one.
Yeah.
Hurry up, talk quicker.
But how was she alive in both of these timelines?
Oh, they'll explain.
Yeah. So, and that's explained before the end of the season, right? There's something that
I believe so. Okay. Yes, I believe it might not be next episode. I think it might be in the season finale, but I believe they do. Yeah.
Okay. Because I remember when I first watched this episode, and I remembered it again, because I don't remember any of the resolve of this, but I was like, how are you? Like, I understand why Cooper is. I understand what happened to him, that he's like half dead, so he's able to take this stuff to extend his life, and he's extending. So that makes some kind of scientific sense, sort of. But she's not a ghoul in the current timeline, so it's hard to understand what's happening. So I can't wait for that question to be answered. But that's interesting, because that ties right back to when Cooper in the current timeline saw her wanted poster and was like, she didn't look like that when I met her. And it's true, because she was wearing glasses, her hair was up, she looked very like 50s, like well dressed and put together, and she's kind of like a wild woman now.
Right. Yeah.
But it ties right back to the Cooper scene when he says, she didn't look like that when I met her. And we find out that that's absolutely true. And it's great because they tease you into thinking he met her in the current timeline. And then it's a really great reveal that she's like the head of this sort of group that Charlie's been meeting with that's against Vault-Tec. So yeah.
Right. Which apparently is carried on into the future, because she's still head of a group that is against Vault-Tec.
Yeah. She's like resistance leader, like extraordinaire. Yes. Okay, so the final scenes of the episode are Lucy going to level 12. And there's so much to unpack there. So many things. I mean, there's the video, there's the cryo tubes, there's like, there's the big gulper that like bounces up against the window. Like there's a lot going on in there.
Oh, there's like the faces in the jars.
Yeah. Oh my God. I totally got flashbacks to like Aliens when they're in the lab, when they get to LV-426 and they go to the lab, and all of the aliens are in like the little jars there as well. I was really expecting her to like poke at one and they'd go blah, blah, blah.
Oh, I'd love it first sight, Burke.
Oh, she likes you.
She likes you, Burke. It's got all of like the creepy lab elements to it.
Yes.
She gets in the elevator, right? And you can tell she's like got to psych herself up to like actually push 12. She's like, do I really want to know? And she's like, yeah, I got to. And then when she gets down there, it's very dark and creepy and deserted, right? There's nobody there. And yeah, she goes into that room and she sees like there are these big specimen jars and there's all kinds of weird ass stuff in them, including like faces and heads and stuff of people, human heads. Yeah. And then she sees the television and she turns on the VCR or the Betamax or whatever they have, and they show this video of this woman and she's like in this chair and it's like she's in a tank filled up with water up to her neck. And like Lucy turns around and like the actual tank is like right behind her. Yeah,
and there's a chair in the tank too.
Yeah, oh yeah, and so she's like, huh, and this woman is like obviously super pregnant, and she's like in labor because we hear her on the tape, and she's doing the labor, grunting and pain and yelling, and she gives birth.
Yeah, she does. And then immediately everything that she gave birth to, which was like a litter of gulpers, they come sliding out of her body. And then they I love that just as I said sliding out of her body, that like a big thunderclap happened.
Big thunderclap, yeah.
I didn't manufacture the drama, I promise. So as she's like they're kind of flying out of her body, like sliding out of her, there's probably about 20 of them, give or take. And
there are a lot.
There's a lot. And they come around and they start like biting her, and then they start eating her.
Yeah. Like baby spiders.
Well, they're hungry,
Yeah. That is a total thing in nature, and you're right. And then we see like there's a huge glass window, and it's on the other side is this massive tank, and there's a gulper in there, and like clearly that's the dad.
Yeah.
That they somehow got them to mate, which I don't even want to think about that. I mean, just think what Maximus would think how that would work. I mean, oh my God. But yeah, and Lucy is so disgusted, she turns off the tape. It's like, and then she continues to explore, and you're right, she comes upon these two or more than that, but we only really see two of these, like they're almost like the stasis beds from Aliens or Alien, which you just kind of mentioned. Yeah, and there's clearly somebody in there, and it's funny because the woman we see in there, she looks like she might be pregnant.
Yeah,
she's got the belly, and we see like the display, the Vault-Tec display, and it's got her vital signs and stuff, and there's like frost on the tube itself, so it's like clearly this woman is in suspended animation and is cryo frozen or whatever, however you want to say it is. And there are other tubes in this facility. It's not just her. There's a bunch, and it's right when she's looking at these that somebody comes in.
Yep.
And I think it's the dude with the nose.
It is the guy with the nose, yes. And she's trying so hard to like hide behind one of the tubes, and she's doing okay, and she's trying to like walk along, and her sneaker or shoe makes like a squeak on the floor.
It squeaks, and he's like, hello.
Yeah, and he was already on like the defensive because he was worried because the door was open.
Yes.
And he came in and he started talking to the girl that's in the tube, and he was like, I got concerned and thought you got out because the door was open. So he's already like worried or whatever, and then he hears the squeak and he knows somebody's in there. Yeah.
And so he immediately goes and hits the alarm, and so Lucy does what anyone would do in that situation. Does she just kind of stand up and go, hey, I'm sorry, I got lost? No, she grabs like a beaker of acid and throws it in his face. Like you do.
Yeah, and then she grabs like there's like a trident thing, like a gun that's got like a
spear gun.
Yeah, spear gun, whatever. Yeah. And she grabs that and she's using that to. It's just hilarious, the scene, and she fights really well, but they get the best of her. And
like a whole bunch of people show up, like 5 or 6 Vaulties show up, and she just gets overpowered.
Yeah. And they grab her and they take her, and like you assume like she's been captured, and then that's it, black, and it's the end of the episode.
Well, Birdie comes in, and and Lucy's like, "You people are insane. What are you doing down here?" And Birdie's like, "I'm sure if I went to your home, I'd say the same thing about you." And Lucy's like, "No, you people are just nuts." And then it cuts back to Maximus, and he's literally sitting in his chair eating popcorn, watching television, and he's got this big ass dopey smile on his face.
Yeah.
And is just happy as can be.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then it smashes
black.
the black. Yeah.
Such a great episode, and a really great way to sort of finish the episode. It just like, there's all this like tension that's been growing about like the vault feels weird, it feels off, there's something weird here, and it just sort of comes to a head, and then you gotta wait until next week to see. But yeah, what a great way to end. Anything that we didn't sort of touch on that you want to make sure that we hit before we take our break?
I don't think so. I think I got everything on my list here. So, yeah.
I think so too.
It was interesting. This episode was back to the full length. I mean, this was close to an hour.
Yeah.
And we did not get any of Norm and Chet and Vault 33 at all. So that story element was not in this one at all.
Yes. I did notice that there was no Norm. No Norm.
Yeah. No Norm.
Yeah.
No Norm is the new norm.
Yeah, that is only the new norm. All right, folks. So we're going to go ahead and take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to discuss our listener feedback and what's coming up next on the podcast.
But as always, please stick around because the thunderstorm is almost upon us. But we will be right back.
Now there's about 20 of them out there.
What will we do?
Don't worry, we're safe in here. They'll never get in.
Why is it that in every zombie story, people always think that their safe haven is invulnerable?
I know. It's like, hello, the walkers are totally going to get in. You better get ready for it.
No!
Diane, get behind me. No, it's not stopping.
Do something, Jack!
And another thing, how come nobody in a zombie story has ever seen a zombie story?
Do you know how much time in human life would be saved if just one person in the group was up on the genre?
What do we do?
Aim for the head.
What?
Aim for the head.
You heard them. Aim for the head.
Quick, Diane, I think we should try and fix the barricades.
I think we should listen to them.
Now, that's the first good idea they've had all episode.
I still don't think they're gonna make it.
Aim for the Head, a horror apocalypse entertainment podcast. Join hosts Diana and Steve as they recap and discuss the best of horror, sci-fi, fantasy, and apocalyptic entertainment. Aim for the Head, available wherever you listen to podcasts. Find us on Instagram and Blue Sky.
Hey there, this is Greg Nicotero, and you're listening to Aim for the Head podcast with Diana and Steve. And don't forget to always aim for the head, because body shots, they really just don't work.
Hey there, everybody. We are back. We're going to jump right into our listener feedback that we received for this episode. So, Steve, why don't you go ahead and take it away?
All right. Well, our feedback that we got is, of course, from the one and only Erica Price.
The one and only.
Who is obviously our number one Fallout fan.
Yeah,
clearly. And we love it. She always sends great feedback, and I look forward to it every week. And she sent this, of course, via the Facebook. And she starts off by saying, "Hey, Vaulties, Cooper makes it all seem so cool, doesn't he? By the way, did you call the number?
Mm-hmm.
Wow." So, yeah, you should do that. So,
okay.
Yeah, like I said earlier, that Diana, you should definitely take a minute and call it, because that tells me that it's still working. So, yeah, absolutely check it out. So then she goes, "Wow, Coop's house is nice.
Mm-hmm.
Look, a server is wearing a Pip-Boy. Ha! This is the robot's voice that was in the Super Duper Mart back in Super Duper Mart. Back in Vault 4, Lucy and Maximus are getting treated really well. Then Lucy throws it all on the table, asking him if he wants to have sex." His response is hilarious. And then she has an emoji of, I want to say, like a rooster.
Yeah, she's making an effect and a little nod to the word cock there, I think.
I get you. I get you. Okay. Then she goes, uh-oh, they're labeled test subjects. This one-eyed overseer is creepy AF, but I died laughing when he put on regular glasses. Dude, that was so funny. And then he's like, his one eye is squinting, trying to read the file, you know? It's like, those glasses, they do nothing, you know?
Yes.
Let's see. She goes on to say, Maximus thinks he can just rip out their fusion core. He gets apprehended and then gets this sweet bounty in a place of his own. He's never gonna leave. And she goes, aha, so it was 135 years that Shady Sands was in existence. Then the bombs fell that orphaned Maximus. That makes more sense. And yeah, we did kind of skip over that one of the things Lucy does after the overseer office with Goosey and before the flaming woman ceremony, she goes into like the classroom of this vault.
Yeah.
And she sees like they have like drawings of the town of Shady Sands, and there's like a little 3D model of it, and then there's like a timeline showing like when it was founded, and then when it became the capital of the new California Republic, and then then it goes all the way, and then the last thing of it's obliterated, and there's like a mushroom cloud, and so we kind of learn a little of how long that was in existence, which, like she says, it's like 135 years. So yeah, that was kind of a cool little fill in the blanks kind of moment there.
Oh yeah, totally.
So then she goes on to say, Sorrel's bowl of cysts. Ew. Yeah, we didn't talk about that, but yeah, that was kind of very coolly gross. She goes, these sheriffs really should have realized who they were messing with. I love this edit they did with Lucy and Cooper and the reveal of Moldaver's identity. Yes. Maximus and his oyster eating. Whoa, boy. I'm glad Lucy has figured it out at least. Pregnant women in tubes? That's so messed up. There must be something fishy with this waterfall video. And yeah, at the end, that's what he's watching on the TV. It's just a video of like a waterfall, which is really weird, right?
Yeah. It's interesting because it's like, she says it's this one thing that's just on there over and over. So I wonder if there's some kind of subliminal messaging in there.
Right. Some sort of connection. Yeah.
So it'd be interesting. Yeah.
Right. And then she finishes up with this. She goes, side note, there's a new show on Prime. It's called The Bondsman, starring Kevin Bacon as and I'm using air quotes, dead bounty hunter sent back from hell to hunt demons. Check it out. And I have checked it out. It is pretty cool. I can't remember if they announced they're doing a season 2 yet or not, but it's been on Prime for a couple of months now at least. It might even have come out at the beginning of the year. I can't remember, but I did see it and I went, oh, Kevin Bacon. And yeah, he's literally a demon bounty hunter, and it's all of these demons have escaped from hell, and so he's got to track them down, and it's kind of a blend of drama and comedy, because there's lots of funny lines and funny situations as he's struggling with his wife and his son and trying to make that relationship work while of course doing the devil's work. So yeah, it's fun. It's interesting. I think you would enjoy it, but I'm not 100%. So
well, maybe we'll have to give it a try.
So maybe, but that is our feedback. So thank you so much for writing in, Erica. We love it. It's always great.
Yeah, thank you, Erica. We appreciate it. So coming up next on the podcast, next week we'll be covering episode 7 from season 1. Title of the episode is called The Radio, and the description we get is, residents of Vault 4 prepare to expel Lucy for breaching the forbidden level 12. Thaddeus finds a means to heal his foot. Norm infiltrates Vault 31, and Moldaver convinces Coop to distrust his wife.
Interesting.
Dun dun dun.
Yeah, and you remember Thaddeus, Maximus stepped on his foot in the armor and just crushed it.
Oh,
so
God,
he
yes.
needs to get that looked at. Yeah, that's an important thing to remember.
Yeah, important part of your body there. Got to get it fixed. So
just because he doesn't have a box of Tim's limbs lying around.
No, he does not.
That he could just pop on a new one. So
not that situation worked either, but it is what it is. So just a reminder, we talked about this last week, but due to the Labor Day holiday, Steve and I will both be out of town. So there's going to be no new episode on the 1st. So we're going to take a week off there for the finale. So we'll record next week, then take a week off, and then we will record for the finale on the 8th. And then the very next week, we will pick up the premiere of Daryl. We'll be a week late with that, but we'll cover both episode 1 and episode 2 on the 15th. So just mark your calendars, people. But we'll put out posts looking for information after the first episode anyway, because, with spoilers and all that, we'll make sure that you guys have an outlet to put your thoughts on Daryl's premiere episode in time with when it premieres. So, So, this past weekend, Steve, you went to Fan Expo. You want to give us like a little rundown on everything you were able to get done and see and do?
No, not really.
Okay. All right. So moving on.
No, it was super fun. It was too bad you couldn't have attended. I think, last year it was so crammed and overcrowded and uncomfortable that I think, a lot of people this year had the same take on it that you did, which is very reluctant to go. Yes. Because I don't think they got a bigger space this year. They did not expand and they have more space, but it was definitely less crowded.
I did hear through the Facebook group that it felt like it was a little less crowded than it was.
Yeah, and unless it was one of the main stars, so Ewan McGregor, Hayden Christensen, and Chevy Chase or Rob Schneider or somebody like that, the autograph lines were actually, or Brendan Fraser, he had a big line too, but the autograph lines were incredibly small and amazingly reasonable and fast. I mean, my friend got something signed by Jeanette Goldstein, and we literally just walked right up to the table and got her autograph. There was nobody in line, right? Yeah. And right next to her was Paul Reiser, and I got him to sign my Alien poster, and same thing. We just walked right up to him, and I told him, I said, I can't believe that you came to the show, and he looked at me and goes, I can't believe you came to the show, which was very funny. He was real fun about it, and he was great. I asked him, did you know that did you ever have any sense when you were making Aliens that it was going to, become what it became? And he said, I knew it was a good script, and so I was figuring it was going to be a good movie, but he's like, I had no idea that 40 years later we'd still be talking about it. So that was kind of interesting. Yeah. And I met a couple of Doctor Who people. I met Karen Gillan, who played Amy Pond in Doctor Who. She, of course, is Nebula in the Marvel movies. So, and she's in the Jumanji reboots as well. And I talked with her a little bit about a horror movie that she made a few years ago called Oculus, which is really good. And I found out she is a big horror fan as well. And so that was really fun. When you meet someone like that, it's like, she's into something I'm into, so, and she was adorable and really nice. And then the other Doctor Who person I met was an actor named Mandip Gill, and she was the Jodie Whittaker's doctor, the female doctor's companion from just a few years ago. And she was delightful as well. And then, of course, met John Hannah. Yes. From the Mummy, and we talked about sliding doors, and yes, he does love boats, and I told him, I said, that you and I, we throw that line back and forth at each other all the time, and he laughed, and he just said that he really loved that script, and it was, when he read it, he's just like, oh my God, this is it's funny, and he could see it, and it just works so well. He had said very glowing things to say about Gwen Paltrow, and said she was very fun and one of the group, and no diva yet, although back then she was just kind of starting out.
Yeah, she was kind of newish then.
not quite as established, so maybe she was a little more willing to play the game than she is now. But he had nothing but good things to say about her, and he was delightful, and he talked about The Mummy too, and just how much fun it was to work with Stephen Sommers, the director, and how he let them kind of explore and do stuff and with the characters and the lines, and so he was great. He was super fun. I did also thank him for his little cameo in The Last of Us.
Oh, nice.
And he kind of went, yeah, that was really interesting, And I said, yeah, just what a genius way to get a lot of Expo Dump setup info out in a kind of a creative way. And he's like, I know, it was really great, And he said it was like one day they shot, it was done, But still, it was again, super nice dude. Couldn't have been nicer. Brendan Fraser, I met him for about 10 seconds because there were so many people in line with him. It was you get in, you sign your thing, you get out. And he had no personalization, no quotes, no character names. It's just Brendan Fraser. That's all. And literally his handlers, like, it's not that he doesn't want to do that stuff. It's just that there are so many people that have pre-purchased
they just wanted to get the line taken care of. Yeah.
They want to make sure everybody gets a chance. And so again, he was very pleasant and delightful. I congratulated him on his Oscar for The Whale, and he's like, "Hey, thanks, man. I really appreciate that." Which, I'm like, "Oh, thank you for thanking me." So it was a really cool show. We saw Jennifer Beals in her panel, and she was great. The Aliens panel was really great. With everyone except Paul Reiser that was there. There were 4 of the Aliens folks there. It was Mark Ralston and William Hope and Jeanette Goldstein and Rico Ross, and that was really fun. And the Mummy panel was really fun on Sunday. And so I mean, it was amazing. It was a really fun show. It was really good. I can't help it emphasize. And I purchased the VIP pass this year, and I have to tell you, it was worth it, absolutely worth it, because I had gotten everyone except for Brendan Fraser, and when I came over, the line was out the door with steerage people. I mean, there had to be like 300 people waiting there, and I of course walked up to one of the people that work for the show, and I said, "Hey, I'm a VIP. Where's the VIP line for Brendan?" And they just said, "Oh, just walk right up there." And so I mean, I literally walked right up to the table and got it on. I mean, it was like so great. It's like more money well spent, And I don't know if we mentioned this, but last year at Fan Expo, I wanted to meet Matthew Lillard, and I just had a regular ticket.
You did nothing but stand in lines last year.
Yeah, I did.
Absolutely.
Friday night, literally, I spent 6.5 hours standing in line for Matthew Lillard, and I was like, never again. And like, you guys were there, standing there off to the side, watching me stand in line for big chunks of time. I mean, it was terrible. And so I shelled out the money. It was like $400 for a VIP pass, which is a lot. It's a lot of money, and oh my God, it was totally worth it just for that. So yeah, it was a good time. So yeah, I think that because less people attended, it was much more manageable than it was last year. So that was nice.
Yeah, well, that's good. I'm really glad, because it is a really good mixture of celebs to be able to sort of like randomly get like a poster from years ago signed and get like a one signature here and there, and like the little mini reunions and things like that, and so many different fandoms represented, and they have so many there. It's just nice to know that like after last year that that there was like some improvement. I think honestly too, I think it was I don't want to say the caliber of guests, but I think I don't think Mark Hamill did another one, but Ewan and Hayden have done a couple of fan expos so far.
Yes.
Together.
Yes.
So, and I think Chicago was one of the only places that Mark Hamill did. So I think that gets people not just locally and like within the states close to us, but you get people who are like this is my chance to meet Mark Hamill. I'm flying to Chicago. I'm going to stay there. You know what I mean? That's the big thing. Whereas, like, if you've got more than one opportunity to meet Ewan McGregor, maybe you go to Boston. Maybe you go to a different fan expo. You go to Toronto.
To Denver or wherever. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So,
I think you're right.
There's that.
I think you're right.
Yeah.
So, well, you know, the rumor, the big hubbub is that next year is going to be John Carpenter. So we will see if that comes true. So I am already going to sell one of my livers for that. So I'll have money already stashed away. So it's
Do you think you'll do the VIP again for next year?
I want to. I don't know if I am, if it's going to be financially possible, but we'll see. They go on sale for I'll have the ability to buy ones like starting next week because all the current VIPs get an early shot at them. But I think they go on sale for everybody in September, so I have a little bit of time to figure out what I want to do. But Anyway, we'll see.
Well, good. I'm glad it was a great weekend. That sounds.
It was.
Awesome.
It was a good show. Good show.
So we both put something on the list to talk about for upcoming shows. I saw an advertisement. I hadn't seen anything on TV, and this was just like a static advertisement on the internet that I saw, and I went down a rabbit hole and found that there's a horror competition show, like reality show, that's going to be on Shudder and AMC Plus starting on September the 9th. It's called Guts and Glory, and it's from Greg Nicotero.
Yes.
And I saw that and I hadn't seen anything about it, so I just wanted to throw it out there that this is going out there. But it's only on Shudder or AMC Plus, so it doesn't look like it's going to be on regular AMC, at least not yet. They might put it into, repeats later, but for the premiere episodes, they'll be on Shudder and AMC Plus. So if you're interested in that, take a look at it.
Yeah, I read something about it, and one of the things they said is that it is like a Shudder exclusive, and so when it says AMC Plus, it's like you're watching Shudder on AMC Plus. But and you're right. I'm sure that after the initial run happens, that it eventually will move over to regular AMC as well. But you're right. If you want to watch it when it's first coming out, you have to do it on Shudder. So but it looks pretty cool.
Yeah, which makes sense because Nicotero worked with Shudder for Creepshow, so that was like a Shudder exclusive then too. So, he must have a deal with like multiple things that he could do. So there's that. So let's talk about yours though.
Just Alien Earth dropped on FX and Hulu, which I'm always confused when because does that mean it's on FX? Does that mean it's on Hulu? I don't know, but it's on one of them, so you can find it. And I watched the first episode. It's interesting. It definitely captures the feel of the first Alien movie with the tech and the costumes and all that. And I want to see where it's gonna go. It's funny because there's a lot of the setup of this show is very much like what we've just been talking about with Fallout, in that they make a point of saying right at the beginning that like Earth is basically run by 4 mega corporations, that there really aren't governments anymore. And like one like Weyland-Yutani, like they own North and South America. And another company, another mega corporation, they own like Malaysia and Australia, and then another one owns Europe. I mean, that's what has happened to Earth, that these ultra rich capitalist guys have basically taken over and run everything. And like I said, I'm really intrigued by it. It's got incredible production values, and there's lots of little nods to the earlier films. And I have to say, Timothy Olyphant is in it, and he's always great in everything. So and this is no exception. And so I'm really curious to see where it's gonna go. So. I don't really want to give too much away on the plot. I think if you're interested, just watch it and enjoy it for what it is. And I think what I read was the chronology is you have Alien Prometheus and then Alien Covenant, which are the 2 prequels that Ridley Scott made just recently. Then you have Alien Earth.
And
then you have the first Alien movie.
Yeah.
Then Alien Romulus, and then Aliens, Alien 3, and Alien 4. So that's kind of where does this fit in with that universe? So
yeah. Post prequels and pre-original movie, like in that little sweet spot.
Yep.
So that's interesting. That's it's on my list of things to watch. Obviously, I'm very interested in seeing it. I'm gonna wait until all the episodes are out because I've got that and maybe 2 other things, and I'm gonna do the Hulu subscription for like 1 month and then watch everything that I need to watch and then get rid of it.
Yeah, I hear you. That is a very common thing. So.
Yeah, that's
then the last thing that I saw, and I didn't put it on here, and I saw this on I think it was on socials, and it was a poster mock-up artwork for the Daryl Dixon season 3, and they did it like one of the old Sergio Leone spaghetti westerns in terms of style, and literally it was the good, the bad, the undead, or the dead, I think is what it said, and it was really interesting, and Daryl kind of has the man with no name kind of, he's got like the poncho and the cowboy hat, and they really played it up. It was really I thought it was very cool because I like those westerns, and they're very iconic, and to the fact that they were all filmed in Spain back in the day, and now of course Daryl Dixon season 3 is going to be taking place in Spain. I like the connection carryover. So if you get a chance to check that out, if it pops up on your socials, I'm sure it's got to be on some Daryl Dixon websites and things, and social media and stuff to find it. So very cool.
Very cool. Awesome. Well, that sounds great. We got stuff to watch and stuff to talk about for next week. That's going to be great.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else to chat about, or should we wrap this up?
No, I think we should wrap this up because I think you're like moments away before you go to Oz. So.
The approaching storm. I'm gonna be. I'm either gonna fly away in the storm, or the house is gonna fall on me. So
there you go.
There's that. All right. So that's gonna wrap it up for us this week, folks. Thanks so much for joining us while we discuss Fallout. We look forward to discussing episode 7 with you next week. But until then, as always, I'm Diana.
And I'm Steve.
Don't forget to always aim for the head.
Because those body shots, they just don't work.
To send us an email, write us at aimfortheheadpodcast@gmail.com. And our Twitter handle is @AFTH Podcast. Pictures and video are always welcome at our Instagram account, Aim for the Head Podcast, all one word. But the best way to keep in touch with us is to just like our Facebook page to get all of our updates in your feed.
Well, our history of trying to record during massive weather events, not great.